Well, guys, it is now time for my Week 16 picks of the 2023 NFL season. As last week I went 11-5, best record in several weeks. I could have gone 13-3, but I had to get wrong with the Sunday night and Monday night picks, which sucks. And of course, here is the regular season stands and the playoff stands of the season end of the day. In the AFC, it's the Ravens with the bye, with Colts at Dolphins, Bengals at Chiefs, and Browns at Jaguars. And in the NFC, it's the 49ers with the bye, with Rams at Cowboys, Vikings at Lions, and Eagles at Buccaneers. And my Super Bowl prediction right now is the 49ers over the Ravens. Alright, so now let's get to my Week 16 picks. Starting off tonight, Thursday night, as the big one in the NFC with a playoff spot on the line, as it's the Saints at the Rams for the first time since 2019. Saints won the last one, the Rams haven't beaten them since 2019. The Saints haven't won on the road since 2009. So the Saints have now won 2 in a row after they crushed the Giants to match their record from last year, trying to have a better record than last year and get above 500 after several weeks. Meanwhile, the Rams also won their game. Oh, they were destroying the Commanders at first, but then they almost let them make the comeback as they're trying to get over 500 for the first time since week 1. So yeah, this is a huge game for both of them. Whoever wins this game will have the 6th seed locked down at the moment in the NFC playoffs, and this will be a big tiebreaker for either team if they get it. This could be an interesting game, but I think I'm going to pick the Rams for this one. Alright, then we get to the Saturday action, starting off with the Bengals at the Steelers, as this is a big AFC matchup, as the Steelers won the last one. The Bengals haven't beaten them since 2022, and the Steelers haven't won at home against them since 2020, as the Bengals try to get their 3rd straight win in season, after they beat the Vikings in a comeback victory last week, as they've won 3 in a row right now despite not having Burrow. Steelers, meanwhile, have lost 3 in a row after they got destroyed by the Colts, as nothing's going their way as they're trying to avoid going under 500 for the first time since week 1. This would be an interesting game, because these two played a few weeks ago, and the Steelers did win that. That was their last win, too, against the Bengals. And the teams haven't really changed much. I think I might regret picking this, but I think I'll take the Bengals in an upset, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers get it. And then it's the Bills at the Chargers for the first time since 2017, as the Bills won the last one. The Chargers haven't beaten them since 2018, and the Bills haven't won on the road since 1981, as the Bills try to get their 6th straight win season, I believe it was. And the Chargers, if they lose, they are eliminated from the playoffs. They still are in it right now, but a loss would knock them out. So the Bills destroyed the Cowboys, showing that their record was kind of a lie. Like I tried to warn everyone, they still are statistically one of the best teams in the league. You can't just look at 6-6 and be like, they're done. They're making that comeback. Meanwhile, the Chargers, of course, got absolutely obliterated on Thursday night, 63-21, leading Brandon Staley getting fired, the 3rd coach getting fired this year, as the Chargers, without Herbert, honestly look like up there as like one of the worst teams in the league, even though they're 5-9. And they're going against probably one of the best teams in the AFC. Yeah, I'm picking the Bills for this one. Alright, then we get to Sunday action, as it's starting off with a big one, our conference, as it's the Colts at the Falcons for the first time since 2015. Colts won the last 2. The Falcons haven't beaten them since 2011, and they haven't beaten the Colts at home since 1998, as the Colts try to get their first win season since 2021, and the Falcons try to avoid like their 6th straight losing season. So the Colts crushed the Steelers, a needed tiebreaker too, going into getting close to the possible playoff spot. Meanwhile, the Falcons lost to the Panthers in an ugly game that they should have won, but they let the Panthers pull it off in the end, which hurts them. As trying to win to keep up in the NFC South as their lead's starting to slip. Meanwhile, the Colts are trying to win to not only get a playoff spot, potentially challenge the Jaguars in the AFC South, because they have the tiebreakers going against them. I'm going to pick the Colts for this one. And then it's the Packers at the Jaguars for the first time since 2017, as the Packers won the last 2. The Jaguars haven't beaten them since... the Panthers, they haven't beaten them since 2017, and the Packers haven't won in Charlotte since 2011, as the Packers try to avoid their 2nd straight losing season. So the Packers lost to the Buccaneers. They could not stop Baker Mayfield. Oh my God, that was an incredible game he had, as trying to avoid a losing season. Meanwhile, the Panthers beat the Falcons in a comeback. Both their wins were comebacks with a last-second field goal. That's not a good sign to try to avoid 0-17, but a win nonetheless. And I'm going to pick the Packers for this one. Come on, you got to beat the Panthers at least. Come on. And then a huge AFC matchup, as it's the Browns at the Texans for the second year in a row. As the Browns won the last 3, the Texans haven't beaten them since 2018, as the Texans try to get their first winning season since 2019. And the Browns, if they win and a couple teams lose, they'll be in the playoffs for the first time since 2020. As they're trying to be like one of the first wildcard teams at the moment in the AFC to get into the playoffs. So the Browns beat the Bears in a close comeback. Remember, they were like winning down like 17-7, and they pulled out the massive comeback, and then they got lucky that the Hail Mary missed. Oh man, that was very close. Meanwhile, the Texans, they looked terrible at first without Stroud in, and then all of a sudden they made the comeback to beat the Titans on a last-second field goal to prevent the tie from happening. And of course, I still don't know if Stroud is playing or not. Haven't heard any indication he will or not. But honestly, I think even if he plays, I think the Browns defense might be too much, so I'm going to pick the Browns for this one. But I guess I won't be surprised if the Texans get it. And then a huge NFC North matchup as it's the Lions at the Vikings. The Lions won the last one. The Vikings haven't beaten them since 2022, and the Lions haven't won in Minneapolis since 2017. As the Lions, if they win here, if they beat the Vikings, not only will they clinch a playoff spot for the first time since 2016, they will clinch the NFC North for the first time since 1993, and in the second longest playoff division drought in the league. Unbelievable. So, a lot on the line right there. After they destroyed the Broncos, looked very good too, as Goff had 5 touchdowns. Vikings, meanwhile, lost, but of course the team they lost to won't come to my head for some reason or another. So yeah, very disappointing loss still for them regardless, as they're on the verge of not being able to win the division coming up, as they got a tough schedule. They got to play the Lions both times. So yeah, I am going to pick the Lions for this one, but I won't be surprised if the Vikings get it. So then we get to the the next several games, as starting off with the Commanders at the Jets, as the Jets won the last 3. The Commanders haven't beaten them since 2007. So of course the Commanders lost to the Rams after they blew it. They made a big comeback, but they couldn't get the deal done, as they are eliminated from the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Jets are also eliminated from the playoffs after they lost 30-0 to the Dolphins, as nothing looked right for them. A battle between two terrible teams. And the Commanders being honestly one of the worst teams in the league, too, in the NFC side, believe it or not. And I think I'll pick the Jets for this one, but I'm not really convinced about this one. And then it's the Seahawks at the Titans for the first time since 2017, as the Titans won the last 2. The Seahawks haven't beaten them since 2013, and they haven't won in Nashville since 2005. So the Seahawks, a needed victory over the Eagles to still be in the playoff race to get back to 500, trying to get back over 500 after several weeks behind underneath it. The Titans, meanwhile, had a close game against the Texans, but they lost in overtime as they are eliminated from the playoffs. So nothing's going right for them. Interesting game, but I think I'll pick the Seahawks for this one. But I won't be surprised if the Titans get it. Alright, and then it's the big outer conference matchup, as it's the Jaguars at the Buccaneers for the first time since 2015. As the Buccaneers won the last 2, the Jaguars haven't beaten them since 2011, and they haven't won in Tampa since 2007. As the Jaguars try to get their second straight winning season, the Buccaneers are trying to get over 500 after several weeks away from it. So the Jaguars lost to the Ravens, and they got spanked, as they've now lost 3 in a row, and they're not looking very good at all. They're looking very, very, very weak, on the verge of potentially losing their division lead. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers had a huge game against the Packers, as Baker Mayfield put up 4 touchdowns, I think, had a perfect game too. First QB to ever have a perfect game in Lambeau, I think, outside of the Packers. That was an insane performance. The Buccaneers are really turning around now, and Baker is looking like maybe the future starter for the Buccaneers. Good on him, as the Buccaneers have a lot of momentum right now, so I'm going to pick the Buccaneers for this one. And then it's oh, that's right, we already got to the 4 p.m. games, that's right. So the next 4 p.m. game, Cardinals at the Bears for the first time since 2021, as the Cardinals won the last one. The Bears haven't beaten them since 2018, and they haven't won at home against them since 2003. As the Bears, they still are in the playoff race, but if they lose and a bunch of teams win, they'll be eliminated. So, huge game for them. Cardinals, of course, got pretty much spanked offensively by the 49ers. Nothing went right for them there. The Bears, meanwhile, had a chance, but they blew it. The Bears have actually been playing a lot better these last few weeks, but they just keep losing games that they keep choking away, like the Lions, the Browns. Just think they could have been 7-7 right now, maybe in the playoff contention, but they're not. So I'm going to pick the Bears for this one. And then it's the huge hour conference matchup, the 1 hour conference matchup, as it's the Cowboys at the Dolphins for the first time since 2015. The Cowboys won the last 4, the Dolphins haven't beaten them since 2003, and they haven't won at home against the Cowboys since 1984. And the Dolphins, if they win and the Bills lose, they'll clinch a playoff spot for a second year in a row, and they'll clinch the AFC East for the first time since 2008. So a lot on the line in this game. Cowboys, after being so high on them the last few weeks, now they went down in flames after they got obliterated by the Bills. Meanwhile, the Dolphins need victory as they crushed and shut out the Jets as they're on the verge of clinching the division. This is going to be a very interesting game, but I'm going to pick the Dolphins for this one. And then we get to the Thursday night game on Sunday, as it's going to be the Patriots at the Broncos. As the Broncos won the last one, the Patriots haven't beaten them since 2017, and the Broncos haven't won at home against them since 2015. As the Broncos try to get back over 500 after losing to the Lions last week in a blowout. Meanwhile, the Patriots lost to the Chiefs when it looked like they maybe could have pulled off the upset, but they looked terrible still nonetheless. I'm going to pick the Broncos for this one. And then we get to the Monday Christmas games. Starting off in the AFC, as it's the Raiders at the Chiefs. The Chiefs won the last 3. The Raiders haven't beaten them since 2020 as they try to avoid their second straight losing season. And if they lose... No, I think the Raiders are still in the playoff spot. I think they're still in, even if they lose. So I'm not sure about that. But the Chiefs, if they win and the Broncos lose, they will clinch a playoff spot and the AFC West for like the 9th year in a row, or whatever number it is. It's insane. So, yeah, I'm going to pick the Chiefs for this one. I don't know why it's looking like that. There we go. And then it's the NFC matchup, as it's the Giants at the Eagles. As the Eagles won the last 3, the Giants haven't beaten them since 2021, and they haven't won in Philly since 2013. And the Giants, if they lose, and a couple teams win, specifically the Saints, they'll be eliminated from the playoffs. So a lot on the line, I think, for this game. Meanwhile, as they lost to the Saints in a blowout. Meanwhile, the Eagles choked away a victory against the Seahawks. Pretty bad. Now they've lost 3 in a row, and they've looked terrible since. They are very overrated. They might even be more overrated in my eyes than the Cowboys are right now. And I thought they were overrated after their loss last week. But I'm still going to pick the Eagles for this one. And then the huge hour conference matchup for Monday night. A huge matchup, as it's the Ravens at the 49ers for the first time since 2015. Super Bowl matchup looking like. As the Ravens won the last one, the 49ers haven't beaten them since 2015, and the Ravens haven't won on the road since 2007. The Ravens, if they win and the Browns lose, they will clinch the AFC North for the first time since 2019. And the 49ers, if they win and the Cowboys, Eagles, and Lions all lose, they will clinch home field advantage for the first time since 2019 with 2 whole weeks still to go. That is insane to have a chance to clinch home field advantage this early. So yeah, this is going to be a wild game. The Ravens destroyed the Jaguars last Sunday night. Meanwhile, the 49ers obliterated the Cardinals. And this is going to be one wild game, perhaps. But I'm going to pick the 49ers for this one. But hey, the Ravens, after me shitting on for most of the year, are starting to look really good. Maybe they could pull off the upset. I have to wait and see. All right. So those are my Week 16 picks. I cannot wait for Saints at Rams tonight. So my picks are the Rams over the Saints, Bengals over the Steelers, Bills over the Chargers, Colts over the Falcons, Packers over the Panthers, Browns over the Texans, Lions over the Vikings, Jets over the Commanders, Seahawks over the Titans, Buccaneers over the Jaguars, Bears over the Cardinals, Eagles over the Cowboys. No, Dolphins over the Cowboys, Broncos over the Patriots, Chiefs over the Raiders, Eagles over the Giants, and 49ers over the Ravens. Alright guys, so see you all next week for my Week 17 picks.